Welcome to Victory Quilts. I'm Eleanor Burns. I've been telling the story of World War II through quilt blocks. Well, we're drawing near the end of the war. Victory in Europe, or VE Day, was declared on Tuesday, May 8th, 1945, marking the end of 6 years of courage across the world. On August 6th, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima. On August 14th, Japan surrendered, or Victory in Japan Day, VJ Day. Well, this famous photograph was taken in Times Square on August 14th, VJ Day. The kissing couple summed up the national joy. There were parades and celebrating. Well, this is a victory quilt made from blocks designed like blocks published by the Georgette Pattern Company in 1945. My friend Elizabeth Pay found just the top and finished it with machine quilting. Well, I do know these blocks were made earlier than the end of World War II because of the tiny print fabrics and that green background. You know, possibly it was a pattern from Ruby McKim. Designed in 1931, it's called the V block in 101 patchwork patterns. It's also called the Churchill block or the endless chain because when the blocks are set together, a chain is made. I was born on July 3rd, 1945, in between VE Day on May 8th and VJ Day on August 14th. Well, here I am with my mom and dad, Irma and Erwin Nagel. Well, my mom called me her little victory baby. She said my toes were shaped on the bottom like a V. And you know, they are still shaped just like that. Well, it's time for jubilation and celebration with Victory Block. Let's get sewing. There was no greater joy than VJ Day for the returning soldiers. I actually have a victory pin. It's just wonderful, shaped in the V, red, white, and blue from the 1940s. And that pin clasp was just glued on there, and it has stayed on all these years. I love wearing it. Well, I was thinking about Ruby McKim's pattern. I decided I have to simplify it. Her pattern, her original pattern, has all of these little triangles on the ends of those V's. Oh, forget that. I'm just going to use strips. Plus, my template looks very much like that one, almost the same. So I already have my background piece laid out. It is 9 3/4 inches by 20 inches long. I'm going to trace 4 of these on this background fabric. I already took one, went around the outside edge. It does have the grain line marked on it. You want to keep it on the grain line so you keep these pieces straight. Once you have one traced on there, then you just turn that patch around and you just draw up and down with the marker. And you continue until you get 4 across there. This is the little template for the 6-inch. That is very cute to do. Well, I need to have 4 more, but I'm just going to do 2 right now. There are a total of 4 patches. 2 are mirror image with each other. So if I just make 2 alike, then I can go back and finish the other 2. Okay, for speed and cutting, draw your lines and then just use your rotary cutter to zip up and down those lines. All of these little triangles, we're just going to take them and get rid of them. Oh, Ruby McKim would be so proud if she saw how we got this done so easily. Let me see. 2 more triangles right at the bottom. Has a kite shape to the template. These are all cut on the bias, so no steam in your iron today. Okay, this is looking good. I'm just going to take these 2, set this aside, and I'll show you how to make the mirror image. Okay, we have 4 strips of the red. Each one is 1.5 inches wide by 11 inches. Same thing for the blue, 4 of them, 1.5 by 11. Because they're mirror image, I'm going to start and place one red strip right along here, and then take a blue one and put it right along there. And that's the start. Once you get those started right, you'll get every single one right. So make sure you make 2 like this, 2 like this. Take your triangle and flip it right sides together and allow a 1/4 inch tip to hang out right up at the top. That would be perfect. And then just use a regular 1/4 inch seam, no scant quarters needed on this one. Put your strip on the bottom, your triangle on top. Get this lined up along the edge. Now you do need to have this extra strip down on the bottom because when we trim that angle, you're going to need it. Okay, flip the second one, flip the blue right behind it. I just like to push off the end of that strip and butt on the second one so I can just get my assembly line sewing done even quicker. Well, the pressing on this is just a little different. This time, we're going to press our seams open. And also remember, this is on the bias. You'll do much better if you don't use any steam. So lay your patch wrong side up. And this one, you've got to get your fingernails in there. Get your fingers in, split that seam open, and then just guide that seam flat with your fingers and follow pressing it. Okay, one pressed open. And now take the second one and just get your fingers in. It's a little bit tricky. Get that opened, but once you get it opened, you can just zip right along there. Now, the ruler that I really like for squaring this up is our 6.5 inch Fussy Cut Ruler. It's just going to help you the whole way. So right now, we are focusing on this top part. We're going to trim this off. If you can place your Fussy Cut Ruler so that you have the diagonal line down the side of the strip, and then the second, the outside edge, right along the outside edge, and you see that that fits in there, you know you did not stretch your tip, your strip right there. It's great. Okay, so that's one. Let's just do the second one. Put the line along here, the diagonal line on the outside, and line this up with the edge of that patch. These are extra. They're perfect. Now, because they're mirror image, now we're going to switch. We've got the one red on. This time we're going to put the blue on the opposite side. And on this one, the red goes on there. And this time we're going to actually start from the bottom. So when we flip it right sides together, they just have about a 1/4 inch tip hanging over there. And the same thing here, 1/4 inch. Oh, I've got my selvage on there. Want to avoid that. So let's just get these stripped right on there. This block actually ends up being pretty easy to do. When I originally designed this quilt, I did it all from illustrations, and I gave my block party students the illustration. I didn't have time to get everything completely sewn, but I knew where I was going with it. Well, as time went on, I kept on looking at the V block, the victory block. I'm going, oh, there's no way. I'm not going to do that. I have to change my mind. Oh my goodness, it looks too hard. So I went in and I told my block party class, no, we're not going to do the victory block. It's too hard. And there was a student in my class, Sally Murray. She said, Elle, we have to do the victory block. I want mine to look just like your drawing. So Sally sat down and worked on it. As she worked on it, I got into it. And boy, did we come up with a nice, easy way of doing this. Now, same thing, turn it wrong side up and press those seams open. And work with that. Oh, this is going good. No steam. And it gets rather thick right up here at the top because you crossed your seams, but that's exactly how you want it to look. That's good. And then this one right here, do exactly the same thing. And this is pretty amazing because we've been working hard to get it looking so good. And in the end, we trim a lot of it off. So now take your ruler. You're going to place your ruler again so that you have the diagonal line on the outside edge. You've got the line here. You're just going to trim that off on the top. And while you're doing your trimming, turn it around and trim again on the bottom end. So now it's looking like a great V with some background in between. I'm going to trim this one exactly the same way, make the other two, and then I'll show you how to finish that patch. Now we need 2 pairs of background. Both of the pairs are 3 by 6 and they are wrong sides together. Just take your ruler and your rotary cutter, put your ruler on an angle and cut right on one diagonal. Now this is just like signal lights. Remember how I said the straight edge or the straight of grain has to be on the outside? It's the same thing with this one. So I'm going to pick up these odd-shaped triangles, and now I'm going to place, so the straight edge is on the outside, the grain is on the outside, and here we go. That's one patch there. Take the second set and open it up. Straight edge on the outside. These are looking really strange, but they are right. Now, when you flip these pieces right sides together, we're just going to make sure we have a 1/2 inch hanging out at the top edge, and that is right. You have to have that 1/2 inch right up there. Else, whenever you go and open it, you're just not going to have anything to trim off. So let's just get this one all laid out and then just zip right down along here. Get it lined up. Kind of ends short. You just don't have anything to sew on once you get going. So let me just take this one. I'll flip it right sides together and just do some assembly line sewing. It's just really, really great. You don't need to press after you add one side. We're just going to do all of the pressing all together. Too much fun. Well, the newspaper headlines in the ship paper said, "A great day." And whenever the soldiers pulled into the harbor in New York, oh my goodness, when they saw the New York skyline, a number of them, many of them started crying. They had not seen American soil for years. It was just an absolutely wonderful thing. And as they pulled into the harbor, some of them went down on the ground, prayed, and gave thanks. Others remembered the soldiers that didn't get to come home with them. When they left in the beginning, they were all curious. They didn't know what was going to happen. The homecoming was just entirely different. So let me just push this one right through, and I'll be done. Well, when they pulled into the Brooklyn shoreline, there was a big sign for them that said, "Welcome home, well done." Just such a great thing. Now the pressing on this one is different again. We're setting our patches up so that the seams all lock together, and you will be just amazed. So let's turn this one wrong side up, open those little patches, those little wings on the outside edges. We're going to keep the seams that are pressed open exactly like that, but we're just going to start on the left and just press over towards the right. Press the new seams towards the right, kind of like that. So let me open this one too, and just press this direction, open up, and now press it from the right side. You know, now we're going to just trim off all of our beautiful work. The best ruler to use is the 6.5 inch Fussy Cut again. And this time, I like to place my patch on a rotating mat. That way, I don't ever have to pick up the ruler and the patch as I'm trimming. The ruler is 6.5. We're going to make the patch 6.5. So there is a 1/4 inch mark right up here on the Fussy Cut ruler. I'm going to take that and just line it right up at that very tip. So I've got the 1/4 inch seam plan. I'm going to look at this line right here and make sure the diagonal line goes right down into the corners. This is looking good. Okay, hold your ruler down tight and just trim up your right and across the top. These are extra, just get rid of them. Now carefully turn your mat around. Don't move anything. And now hold your ruler down again, not so much to trim on this side. And that is it, just like that. And that's the patch. Now I'm going to make one more just like this one and two that are mirror image from this one. I'm going to get going. I have all 4 patches done, and this is the little point that we have to match together right in the center. That is going to be a challenge. Now remember, they're mirror image blocks. So I have the blue and the red. So to make that complete V, I need to have another red, and you just keep on going right around the circle, a complete blue, and then the last piece, a complete red. 4 V's. Wonderful. Now, I like to sew vertical rows together. So just take the piece on the right and flip it to the left, each one of them. And we tried to get those locking seams. So look right here. This patch on the top goes up, and underneath the patch, the seam goes down. It's just great. Now when you get right here, it's very bulky because there's all of these layers of fabric. So right there, I've really got to hold it tight. And then once you go through the center, again, this goes up, and underneath it goes down. So you're just going to squeeze those together. Now comes the challenge. Let's just see how I can do. Well, it's easy to start up at the top because you just line up the 2 top edges exactly as it is. Drop your presser foot, put your needle down. I like to just anchor and start going. And once I just sew about an inch, go right to here, pick up the pieces, line them up, and then just squeeze them together. Sometimes you have to do a little fudging. I'm very good at fudging. Make sure you keep that seam flat. Once I pass that one seam, then I like to go to the next seam, get it lined up, and it's interesting. They actually do not lock, but they are just little V's that fit into each other. So that's what it looks like. So now I'm just going to look at it, line it up, get the tips on the V's lined up perfectly, and just continue going. I love the way my presser foot just jumps up when I'm ready to place fabric under it. Okay, here again, we've got those little V's. Let's line it up and just roll into each other. Have to slide it down just a little bit. Now, if you want to pin right there, you certainly can do that. There, got that good. This is the really thick part. So make sure you keep your 1/4 inch as you go over that thickness. Again, locking seams right here. Roll that in place, hold it down. The seams stick up really funny. It's great. And then it's easy once you pass that one point because you can just match the end and keep on stitching. I am very anxious to see what we have done here. Let's see if we have victory right in the middle of this seam. I like to look first, and ooh, looking good. So now you can see how those go into each other. That's looking pretty good there. And then right here, it's the same thing, how they go. So now take them and fold the piece on the right to the left. At this seam, we want to swirl it. So to make it swirl, push the top seam up, and underneath, press it down. That is very thick. I am wondering how many thicknesses we have right there. Okay, up to that center is exactly the same thing. Line up at the top. Get this lined up and locked right here. And when you get right to here, you just have to do some feeling. Oh, I can feel it. Top's going up, underneath is going down, and just hold that really flat. It's been my tendency to make a narrower seam right here when I start to go through all of that fabric thickness. But if you hold down your seams very tight as you stitch over them, you may not sew a narrower seam. Okay, let's get this lined up here. And this is going to be the grand finale. So let's just take a look. You can always keep this block, hang it high, keep it moving. If it doesn't look good, let's see if I have to do that. Oh my goodness, look at that. That is looking great. So every one of those pieces are lined up. It's flat in the center, but there's a good bump right there. We're going to make it even flatter. So when you want to make it flatter, this is the swirling. I'm going to take my scissors right at that connecting thread and cut it. Now, you take your stiletto or a seam ripper and you just pick out, there's about 3 stitches right there. You pick out those 3 stitches that are straight, one more pick, and let me just cut that so you know what I removed. And then turn it over on the other side and pick out those seams like so and cut those threads. And from the wrong side, you just swirl it around the center and you open up that very center and lay it flat as can be. Perfect! And turn it over and it's nice on the other side. VJ Day is a state holiday in Rhode Island. The holiday's official name is Victory Day and it's observed the second Monday of August. So let's be patriotic and be sure to observe Victory Day. V for victory. What a wonderful sound. It was finally the day the world had been waiting for. One soldier said, "The next day we are waiting for is VH Day, Victory Home Day." He added, "Tell Mom to dust off my civilian clothes. I can't wait to hand her my dirty laundry." Well, soldiers' lives had changed forever. On the home front, life had changed as well. One patriotic mother was putting the final stitches on her red, white, and blue quilt. It's a hexagon quilt, but it's different from the 1930s grandmother's flower garden quilts made with pastel hexagons. Well, this one was made in the 40s, and there are 3 white hexagons that actually take the shape of a V. The flowers are blue with a white center, and the path surrounding the flowers is red. You know, this quilter meticulously stitched a 1/4 inch from the edge of every hexagon. It's just a beautiful quilt. You know, even her quilting books had changed while the country was at war. This is Heirloom Quilts, number 160, price 10 cents. It was put out by J&P, Coates & Clark, ONT, standing for Our New Thread, in 1941. It was basically printed in one color of ink. It's really unusual. And then on the back page it says, "Square dances are back, and so are quilting bees." Well, at the bombing of Pearl Harbor, there wasn't much dancing. Well, the same company, Coates & Clark, put out this quilt book, now in 4-color, in 1945. The war is over, and now it's called the American Quilt. In italics, it proclaims, "Women of America, cherish and promote this art steeped in tradition." The sunflower is just beautiful in 4-color. Well, a very appropriate pattern after the war is this one, the Red Cross. Many wounded soldiers looked forward to the arrival of the Red Cross girl. Well, life for my family changed as well in my hometown of Zelienople, Pennsylvania. My father was home and added to the baby boom with my sister Patty. Well, my father took advantage of the GI Bill, entitling returning soldiers to a college education. He was able to start his own business, Nagel Heating Company, that lasted him a lifetime. Well, like so many families, we moved from the country into a 1-level ranch in town. Mother called us the 49ers. Remember how only 55% of the homes had indoor plumbing in 1941? Well, we had a beautiful tiled bathroom. I remember all of us girls climbing into the tub on Saturday for our shampoo. Well, Mother was so proud of her new kitchen full of appliances. In 1947, 13 commercial television stations became available. Well, I remember the day Father brought home our first TV. Life was good and we felt safe. Well, today it's up to you and me to remember how much was given to bring peace to the world. I love to share my collection of Uncle Sam's. I decorate my home with him from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And I help my daughter-in-law, Himna, make this Uncle Sam quilt for her home. He's just cute with his striped pants and his little raggedy beard. Well, we're teaching patriotism to my granddaughter, Ellie, dressing her in red, white, and blue and waving her flag. Well, here is her latest quilt. It's called the Lover's Knot. Beautiful in these bright, patriotic colors. Well, let's keep the memory alive of our soldiers who fought for the right to freedom and happiness.